Hello, lovely people. New adventure unlocked. I'm headed to the next game. My mama's here. We're going to Aqua Zumba. I am getting out of my comfort zone. I am trying fencing today. I'm just there for the vibes. I know nothing about baseball. I'm there for the vibes. Hello, lovely people. I am back. Okay, so listen, Linda, listen. I had to watch this show twice, this episode twice, and whew, it was a lot. First, I'm going to say this. I really appreciate the transparency that this family is giving us. Let me say this. This is the realest docuseries that I have seen in a long time. They are putting everything out there, whether it makes them look good, whether it makes them look bad. They are putting it out there and they are addressing everything, okay? So we start off by talking about Lindsay and Kyle. Now, let me say this. Being that I'm from a blended family, I understand Lindsay and Kyle's plight. What I appreciate that Julie did, now people may differ with me on this. I appreciate that she adopted those kids and from what we can tell, treated those kids as her own. But it is natural, because I'm going to give Lindsay some grace right now. It is natural to be the older kid and you're used to your parents being together and now they are not together and now you see that a whole new family has been formed and you're just trying to figure out where you fit in. So in the beginning they talk about Lindsay, she was like the perfect child and then she started acting out. Well, that is because probably that is the years where she started realizing like, you know, maybe I'm different. I'm the other kid, right? She felt othered. So, and then it's also no coincidence that Kyle got into whatever that he got into, okay? So I'm really trying to give Lindsay some grace that it's not easy. It's not easy to say, Savannah was like, oh, Lindsay was resentful because we had a nuclear family. Well, yeah. I mean, especially she's like a teenager and like she sees like her dad, you know, has a whole, you know, wife and kids. That is a lot. So I'm going to give her some grace on there. Okay. Then they talk about when Chrisley Knows Best was happening, Lindsay filmed 5 to 6 episodes. Lindsay wanted to wake Chloe up because remember, at that time, Chloe was with Todd and Julie. Lindsay wanted to wake Chloe up to film, to do some kind of content with her, right? Let me say this, Savannah's right. If it was Lindsay's child, she would go berserk. If it was my child, I would have an issue. You are not waking up my child to do no content when my child is sleeping. Like, are you crazy? Now, again, she wasn't a mother then. She doesn't understand. I'm hoping that now that she's a mother, she can understand like kids need their routine. You can't just wake the baby up to do content. So they got into an argument and apparently Lindsay called Julie all kind of blanked and Todd put his foot down, no longer filmed with them. Okay. Now again, before Chrisley Knows Best, right, there's this guy named Mark Braddock, who was Todd's business partner. And Todd met Mark at one of the school events, right? Now, here is my issue with Todd. Todd said that Mark had access to their home, passwords. Why? Todd, that is your business partner, but that is your fault. You placed too much trust in that man. And Todd said that his dad told him before he died that man is going to be your downfall. And guess what? Daddy was right. Even Oprah Winfrey says she signs every single check. Not a dollar comes out that she don't agree to, and not a dollar goes in that she doesn't know about. And she is a billionaire. Todd, you are not too busy to be in your affairs. To give complete trust to a non-family member is mind-boggling to me. Like, why? Right? So apparently, before Chrisley Knows Best, Oh, and they treated Mark like a family. They even had this man in their will that if something happened to them, that he would take care of her. Child, let no friendship find me because like that. Because for him to have all that access, well, which also explains why he was upset. So I guess he was doing some fraudulent stuff with the business, and he got fired. So again, this is how they telling it. This is not my words. Don't sue me. Okay, I don't have no money to give you. Allegedly. So they fired him. So he became disgruntled. So him being disgruntled, he started talking to the FBI about whatever the dealings was happening, right? I'll talk about this later, but I have an issue with somebody who, because I read some of the court documents where he admitted on the stand that he forged documents, he signed Todd's names, he even impersonated Todd, and he was granted full immunity. Like, how? How? So to me, you being granted full immunity tells me something. In a sense, what they're trying to say is that this is all because of the show and fame. I don't ever want no fame. Just give me the money. I don't ever want no fame. So you're trying to tell me that because this family has fame, that is the reason why law enforcement went after them? But hey, that's why all these housewife stuff, they get into all this legal stuff. Now, I really feel bad for Julie because for a long time, they said that Julie was not a part of this investigation. They were investigating the Chrisleys for 7 years. It's only when they tried to get to Todd, and they knew that to get to Todd, you had to get to Julie. So Julie became collateral damage, which is effed up on all levels. Effed up on all levels. It kind of reminds me of Teresa Giudice from The Real Housewives of New Jersey, who ended up serving time for her husband's dealings. Now, from my understanding, Juicy Joe was doing some stuff. And by the way, if you don't know, I love all Real Housewives. My favorite housewives are the Beverly Hill gals, then the Atlanta gals, then the Jersey gals. But anyway, so Julie was never a part of this, not until much later. But also in this episode, they said that Julie sued Mark Braddock in 2012, but the charges were dismissed in 2014. So here's what I don't understand, and maybe somebody can tell me about this. Why did Julie sue Mark Braddock, but Todd didn't sue him? I feel like I'm missing something. If he was a bad businessman, they fired him, and they said that Todd threatened legal action. Why didn't Todd file legal action against him? Anyway, maybe I'm missing something, so somebody let me know. Anyway, so then we move on to, okay, so let's go back to Lindsie, right? Lindsie, may a child never find me like you. Because while I'm giving you grace about the blended family thing, what you did was effed up. Even if, because they said that Lindsie denies working with the FBI. For the mere fact that you wrote a letter, and it was not a character letter for the defense. You didn't write a letter to the judge saying, "I love my dad, he's a good man, spare him," etc. You wrote a letter in general. That's effed up. And you didn't even tell your dad about it. And the fact that, so they hired this investigator named Josh Waith to basically invest the Chrisley's tax stuff, right? And it sounds like he kind of was a fan because he went and got fraudulent search warrant and busted into the Chrisley's warehouse. I mean, he forced the landlord of the warehouse to open it or threatened to arrest him and seized all these documents. And those documents that he seized, that is illegal and that should not have been admissible in court. I don't give a damn what's on those documents. That is fraudulent if you did not have a proper search warrant, okay? And he started taking pictures of some of the items that was on the show, like Todd's chair was sitting on it. Like, you are just a fan, okay? And apparently there was text messages between Josh and Lindsie. Lindsie, why are you texting the man? Are you that angry with your father that you are willing to let your father and your stepmom go to prison for possible life? And this is also another thing that's ridiculous for me. That the prosecutors were asking for life for a non-violent offense. Like, where they do that at? What? So, Lindsie, I know you may feel a way that you feel like, you were replaced by Savannah. I know you may feel a way that you feel like maybe Savannah, Chase, Grayson got all the things that you didn't. But Lindsie, you are jacked up. You are messed up. And if I was your siblings, and if I was Todd or Julie, because I have a feeling that Todd will forgive Lindsie one day. Because from what I see that Todd is a little bit of a softie, but the siblings won't. Or actually, you know what? Let me back up. I feel like Julie also might forgive her because she's trying to be the good stepmom. Whatever. I just have a feeling that this story between Lindsie and the family has not ended, and that might cause a rift between the family because Savannah, Chase, and Grayson may be like, why y'all still dealing with Lindsie? And then Todd and them will say, oh, we need to forgive her because, the Bible says so, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to spend some time on Lindsie. Lindsie, you cannot be that angry to want to see your father. Let's put Julie aside. Let's say she did some stuff to you. But you cannot tell me that you allowed yourself to be used as a pawn to work with investigators to bring your dad down. Do you not see any good in that man? Could you not think about all the things that he did for you? Let's back up. Even if Todd was like a terrible person and you saw that he was going through this investigation, why couldn't you have said, you know what, I want nothing to do with it. I don't want nothing to do with the man. Whatever happens to him, happens to him. But you helped. That's the problem. You helped. You didn't say, don't contact me. You were texting with the investigator. And one thing I appreciate about this show is they got receipts. They got receipts of the guy, Josh Wade, sitting on the chair, the bed. First of all, that is so unprofessional. If you're there to do a job, if you're an investigator, you're acting like a fan. Oh, here's Todd's chair, or here's Todd's bed. Like, you are so unprofessional. And I don't know why that lawsuit got dismissed against him, but anyway, I digress. So, Lindsie, you may not have been the catalyst to bring them down, but you sure didn't help it, my dear. That is a jack thing. And then, let me back up. And then here's another thing that pissed me off. Why are you going on Dr. Phil? If you really want to repair things with your family, why are you speaking out publicly against them? Okay, let's say Julie's wrong. Let's say y'all got into an argument and you start filming the show. Was that show so important to you that you made it your mission to bring your family down? I think that's jacked up. Two things can happen at the same time. I can show Lindsie some grace in that with the childhood stuff, but this stuff was messed up. This stuff was truly messed up. All right, so let's talk about Savannah, because I got something for Savannah too. Savannah, so in July 2023, Robert Shiver, who is Savannah's ex-boyfriend, they talk about the fact that his, estranged wife, they were going through a divorce at the time, plotted to have him unalived, right? So Savannah is the type of person, I feel like she sees fire and instead of running away from it, she runs to it. She goes, oh, fire! Because she didn't know the man, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. She didn't know him. She sent him a message saying, praying for you. Savannah, my dear, you could have prayed for him in your mind. So July 2023, he is on the news for somebody trying to alive him. And then first of all, Robert, like, I'm not gonna blame you for some sociopath trying to unalive you. But what is happening with you that some woman wants you from the fate of this earth and you got 3 kids with her? I don't know. I wasn't there. But July 2023, he's on the news for his wife trying to unalive him. And then August 2023, y'all get into a relationship. Because I looked up the timeline. So then, Savannah, you get upset because you're like, I don't want to be associated with whatever you and your wife going on. People magazine ran a story about this about him and his wife, and I told him to protect me and stop the story, and he didn't do that. Savannah, let me remind you, Savannah, you are a public figure. Anybody that you romantically tie yourself to, anything associated with them will be tied right back to you. So Savannah, you should have prayed for that man in your head and you should have kept it moving. It is not Robert's fault that People Magazine is running a story. Because guess what? Even if Robert called People Magazine and said, hello, people. Yeah, so I know you're running a story and Savannah and I are no longer together. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to run the story and they're going to say, oh, Robert said that him and Savannah are no longer together. Then that's going to be another story about how y'all not together. So Savannah, you can't throw rocks and hide your hand. And Savannah said, Robert is no better off than when I left him. This man was going through a middle of somebody trying to unalive him, and then you jump into a relationship with him. Now, here's where I'm going to give Savannah grace. Let me tell you something. I will give moments of grace to people. I think Savannah was in a very vulnerable place. I think Savannah was in a very fragile place. And also, listen, Robert's cute, okay? Like, Robert is cute. So I think Savannah saw him and Savannah said, let me slide in those DMs. So he saw Savannah and he said, oh, she looked good. And then y'all jumped into a relationship. That man just went through a traumatic situation. You cannot save that man. And listen, I watched Savannah's podcast when she talked about how Robert broke up with him. And Savannah makes a lot of excuses for that grown man. Oh, he lived a great life and now he's going through trauma. Okay, well, if he's going through trauma, he got to work that out. So Savannah is juggling, trying to save her parents' life, trying to get Chase into rehab, trying to raise Chloe, trying to get Grayson into college, trying to manage her life, trying to work, and then you go jump into a relationship with a man whose wife just tried to have him killed. And then you're going to get mad because you're like, I don't want to be associated. Girl. I think Savannah was in a fragile place and so fell very fast and very hard for Robert. And Robert, who knows all the stuff he got going on. Savannah, count it as a blessing that man let you go. Okay? Count it as a blessing. And then let me back up. And I'm jumping over the place, so show me some grace. Now, they show a scene where Savannah's running late to something, and Julie calls, and Julie's like, oh, I met Robert one time, but I feel so bad because had I been there, you would have had more time. Julie, this is not about time and flexibility. That is the wrong thing to say, because in Julie's mind, she feels guilty because she feels like, oh, if she was home, then Savannah would have time to date him, and no. This is the wrong person and wrong timing. The man got some trauma. The man got some stuff to deal with. So, Julie, whether you were home or not, it was going to be a disaster. Okay? Savannah, my dear, he is not a good man. Count it a blessing that he let you go. All right, so let's back up. So we've got this case going on, and so Nanny Pam says that she didn't go to court. They didn't go to the trial. The trial lasted 2 weeks. She didn't go to trial because she felt like this was not going to go anywhere. Nanny Pam, here's another situation where you're not showing up. I don't care if you thought it was going to go anywhere or not. Okay? That is your daughter going through trial. Your ass should have been there. Even if Julie said, Mom, I don't want you there, you should have been there. Nanny Pam, I showed you Grace last episode. This is the second time, but the first time, that you have not been somewhere where you're supposed to be. Even if it's for support for your grandchildren. You got Savannah, you've got Grayson, you've got Chase. They were holding hands walking to the courthouse. They were holding hands. You should have been right there along with them, holding their hand. Okay? You should have been there. Your daughter's going through trial. And then I guess they were trying to protect the parents, so they really didn't tell the parents what was going on, because the father, Julie's father, found out about this whole thing by somebody else. So imagine having to hear that your daughter is going through the worst time of her life from a stranger or a friend. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. So anyway, obviously, as we know, Julie was collateral damage. And and let's back up. Nothing came. So first it was a state case, right? And nothing came about it. And in fact, where it said that Julie and Todd owed taxes, come to find out that they were owed money. So they sued the IRS, right? And then the feds picked it up, right? And so they spent 7 years trying to come up with all these charges, right? Now, Todd, from what Savannah says, Todd was very stone-faced during the trial because Todd is a never let them see you sweat type of person. And I could be like that too, like never let them see you sweat, never let them break you, right? But it was not until they read Lindsay's letter, and that's when he broke. Lindsie broke that man. And then Lindsie was in the court. So Lindsie, you're fouled because this whole time you never give your dad a heads up. Because apparently they had filmed a podcast, a reconciliation podcast, which I did watch. And I felt like the podcast, when I watched it, Lindsie was very, a bit guarded, which I can understand. And you could tell they were really walking around on eggshells, trying not to say anything to tick her off. And even Savannah said it in the podcast. Like, I feel like, I have to be mindful of like what I say to not tick you off. Anyway. So this whole time, you've been texting this person, you've been right, and even again, because they invited the People magazine reporter to do a segment on the show, on the episode, and she said, "Well, the letter that Lindsie wrote was not bad at all. Why'd you even write a letter in the first place? Why did you even put your name in it, right?" So this whole time, you didn't even give your dad a heads up to say, "Hey, Dad, I know this is going to be very hard." Because I know it's not easy. "Dad, this is going to be very hard, but I really need to tell you something. When I was angry, I wrote a letter to the FBI, and I deeply regret it, and I will retract it. Nothing." It's not until the sentencing they read Lindsay's letter and Todd broke down. And you're sitting with the family. And so then when they sentenced them, because Todd got 12 years and Julie got 7. Can you imagine having nothing to do with your husband's business and then being sentenced to 7 years in prison? Whew, Lord, help me, Jesus. So, and then they said that Lindsie tried to console Grayson, and Grayson said, "Don't you effing touch me," as he should. And Lindsie, you lucky that Grayson didn't punch you. I don't condone violence against women. But Lindsie, the audacity for you to even try to console your brother when you had a hand and put him away is audacity for me. It's audacity for me. And Lindsie doesn't seem like she feels guilty about it. She denies everything. She's not showing any remorse because, again, the receipt were receipting in the episode. So let's say you deny everything. Do you deny the letter? Do you deny writing the letter? Do you deny the text messages? Like, what are you denying? You said, "I deny any involvement." But are the text messages between you and the investigator that started all of this, was that false? Because if then we got another fraudulent case on your hands. Somebody's impersonating you. She's not saying that. And I hear that she had a podcast, and maybe I'll go listen to it because I think it is important to hear her side. So I'm gonna make some time to listen to it because again, I don't have no skin in the game. I'm not for or against anybody. I'm seeing all sides, you know. So let me see. How did they even end the show? Because I really wanted to talk about like the main parts. Yeah. So they basically obviously got sentenced. Now I will say this: I really commend Savannah because she said she has been to DC a multitude of times, and she said you never know who you're gonna meet, and that is true. Look, I am in the DMV area. DMV is DC, Maryland, Virginia. DC is the mecca of obviously politicians and but even a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend is probably a politician. You're always like connected in some way. So I do agree. Like, hey, I'm going to this embassy dinner. I never know who I'm going to get. And then Julie's like, oh, you might find your husband. Now it's not the time. She got bigger fish to fry. But I get it. She's young. She want to be married, whatever. But I will say this. Here's how I'm going to end it. I appreciate the authenticity in this show. I appreciate the transparency in this show. And yeah, I don't know if Lindsie will ever come back with this from her family. But for you to make a move like that, Lindsie, you had to say to yourself, I don't care what happens. Like, I'm done with them. She must have washed her hands of them. But I have a sneaky suspicion that somebody's going to break and communicate with Lindsie. And then also I'm like, Lindsie, how do you feel now? Like, how do you feel that they've been pardoned? Like it backfired. Child, they told Lindsie to lose her last name. But Lindsie, isn't she married? No, she was divorced. And she's in a relationship. Yeah, girl, you better lose your last name because, yeah, they're done with you. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.